So you have a talent retention problem. Not to worry, in this video, we're going to go over a few of the root causes and then ultimately connect that with solution paths so you can solve that talent retention problem. So you may be a manager or upper management, and inside your team or your business, people are coming and going somewhat like a revolving door. And you're having a headache, can't figure out why. And one of the reasons why it's a little bit difficult to try and actually pinpoint what's going on is because we don't take a step back and get to root cause. So again, in this video, we're going to dive into the root cause of talent retention and how to solve each one of those problems. All right, let's dive in. Okay, so let's dive into the root cause of talent retention problem. Now, this isn't all of the root causes. So, what I would encourage you to do is to follow along, follow the process. And in your specific situation, if you have other root causes, then you can follow the process and get to your solution path as well. The way I look at it is from three different angles: opportunity, interest, and culture. So, with opportunity, what we'll see is a lot of times it's a flat org chart. So we lose talent because they are expecting to grow or go up a corporate ladder or get a title of some sort. But in your organization, if you have a flat org chart, those opportunities aren't there. Now, I'm not just going to say that you should have all of these opportunities or you should give away all of these job titles, but to in order to help solve the talent retention problem, we need to at least address the fact that we have a flat org chart, possibly. Another example is career development. So if we aren't offering career development opportunities, or if we don't have that training, or we don't have the different maybe project or customer and client facing opportunities, folks could jump ship for that as well. In a minute, we'll get down to solution paths for each one of these, but those are kind of the examples that I think of when I think of opportunity taking away talent and having them leave for other opportunities. Interest. Interest can be all sorts of things. They could have joined your team because they liked your business, they thought it was cool, they were really excited about that. They worked there for a little bit, and now they're just not interested in your business anymore. They could also be interested or focused on impact. And maybe as time progressed, industry changes, the business changes, the impact isn't there. And so they see that and they go, I need to go someplace else where I can make a bigger impact or where the business is making a bigger impact. And then there's lifestyle. And that could be a number of things. It could be a birth of a child brought into the family. Maybe it's a death in the family. It could be a big purchase like a house or a car. Or it could be that their spouse or a loved one has a new job in a different location and they need to move. So that's kind of where interest comes from. So people might be leaving because of those types of things. And then, of course, there's culture. And in culture, it could be a number of different things. This one might be a little bit more obvious to folks, but it could be money. They could be jumping ship to get a bigger paycheck. It could be resources. Maybe they've been working there a while and they're not being challenged or they're not being offered different resources like software or, again, maybe just training or education resources. The culture could be toxic. I mean, that one might be the most obvious of all of that. And it could just be that they see the leadership or just even just poor teammates, and so they're kind of frustrated and they're looking for a different opportunity with a fresh set of faces. Now, let's go back to each one of these and talk about the solution path for each one. So again, when we choose and understand the root cause, we can have a more specific solution path, which will help us be more successful when we're trying to solve our talent retention problem. So, in opportunity, our solution paths could be awareness to start. So, again, if we're talking about a flat org chart or even a career development issue, we need to start with being aware that those are our issues. But at the same time, awareness also means being aware of what's out there. So are they jumping ship because they want a different title? Are they jumping ship because those different titles give them different opportunities? And if you're aware of that, you can then start to explain to your folks that even though you don't have this fancy title, you are getting all of the same experiences that you would in a different company with a different title. And in some cases, the the job and the work that they're doing in your business or on your team might even be a higher job title than what they're jumping ship for. So they may be offered a new position as a department leader. But if you give them all of these opportunities inside your business with your clients and your customers, it could be equivalent to maybe a department head. So are you aware of that? Are you aware that sure, your job title just might be leader, but as it applies to the rest of the business community, is your job title actually a department head or something higher up that you can then share with your folks who are questioning whether or not they should stay here or go and get this other title at a different company. So awareness is huge, especially under understanding your situation versus the other situations that are out there. And so being able to communicate those connections and those ties, that's huge for retaining talent. Then after that, it's really about career development. So projects, programs, education, bringing in trainers and mentors, doing different things like that. Are you doing those things? Or maybe you overlook them. Or maybe you think you're doing them. And so this goes back to awareness. You think you're doing them, and in reality, you're not hitting the mark. And so all of that feedback from the people who might be leaving, that might help you to change how you approach your career development. Let's jump down to interest. How can we solve interest? Clear and repetitive communication is huge. It's huge in all three of these root causes, but when it comes to interest, that one's a little bit harder. So that's why clear and repetitive communication is so important here. You don't know when their interests change. You don't know what their interests are in a lot of cases, especially if you're not communicating with them and talking with them. So unless you understand those things and unless you actively listen and get that feedback, how are you going to share what your company is doing? So they may want impact. Is your company actually making an impact? And if so, are you communicating that with your folks so that they know, oh, yeah, we are actually making an impact. I should stick around and help make that impact, because they may start to fade away because they just don't think they're doing anything. Or the business. Are you growing the business? Are you getting into different industries? Are you, attacking and bringing in, other areas within the industries? If you're not communicating that, then people can lose interest. Hey, this is boring. This is the same old we've been doing for the last 5 to 10 years. Maybe I should go do something else. But in behind the scenes, if you guys at upper management are actually making some changes and trying to grow your company, are you making that clear to the rest of your folks? And then the other thing is just embrace it. So again, this one ties in a little bit more with lifestyle. Sometimes things just happen. Sometimes things just change. And in this case, maybe you just have to embrace it. So you may look at talent retention as a problem, but if most of your root cause comes from the fact that people are just leaving or certain things are happening where it's kind of out of your control, one, don't take it personally. And then two, we just got to embrace it and maybe rearrange how we think about talent retention. And then culture. Culture is about recognition and then making adjustments. And now I'll even highlight the fact that you may not want to make adjustments, and that's okay. If you recognize that your culture is a big part of why you're losing folks, you got to ask yourself, one, is our culture actually good? Is it successful? Is it what we need in order to be a huge success in our industry and for our company? Or is it really that toxic? Is it really that bad that we need to make a change? So it's all about recognition and then adjustment. And sometimes the recognition is, yeah, we're doing everything great. We just need to actually, the adjustment then becomes, do we get the people in who actually know and embrace our culture? And so I say that as dolphins don't do well in the desert. What do I mean by that? Well, we know that dolphins thrive and survive in the ocean. They do great, they love it, that's where they live. But if you dropped them off in the desert, they would die. Um, that's the same thing that we see with folks, that certain folks do really well in certain cultures and other folks do really horribly in those same cultures. So just because you have a certain culture and just because some people are leaving, that might be an indication that you're just not hiring the right folks to fit within your culture. Okay. So bear that in mind. And that's why I use that phrase. Dolphins don't do well in the desert, because a lot of times, especially if you are well aware that your culture is very successful and it's a good culture, if you're just not hiring the folks that fit and they don't recognize that that's the culture, they could be leaving. So they could come in, they could be thinking one thing, they realize that, oh wow, this is very different than what I thought, and so they jump ship that way. Just bear that in mind, and then you recognize that, and then how do you adjust? You adjust through your interviewing and bringing on new talent in your interview process. So something to think about there, right? And again, with culture, direct communication. So, are you communicating all of the things that you're doing, all of the things that you're going to be doing? And again, this goes back to that, that culture. Are you directly communicating what your culture is so that those folks can understand it and make a good and proper decision about whether or not they want to work for you in the first place? Okay. So hopefully this video gave you some ideas about root cause to your talent retention problem. Again, these may not be all of the root causes, and your specific situation might have something different. If that's the case, then hopefully this process will help you to solve that problem. Again, think about what that root cause is. It's usually some sort of motivation, some sort of drive. It could be, in a lot of cases, an emotion. And then go through and try to find your solution path so that you can solve that problem specifically. If you have any other questions, add those to the comments below. And with that, I'll say, all right, until next time.